The member for Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs. Will the minister update the House on the Coalition's progress in delivering on the Paris Agreement on climate change? Will the minister outline how the international agreement is in Australia's national interest?
The Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr Speaker, I thank the member for Chisholm for her question and I congratulate her on her election to this place. Having campaigned with her, she will make a fine representative for the people of Chisholm. Mr Speaker, this afternoon the Turnbull government will table the Paris Agreement on climate change to enable consideration by the Joint Standing Committee on Treaties to hopefully enable ratification of this historic agreement by the end of this year. Ratification by Australia will demonstrate our firm and enduring commitment to tackling the global challenge of climate change. Members will be aware that on the 12th of December last year, all 196 parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change signed on to the Paris Agreement, and the Australian government played a significant role in negotiating that agreement. Indeed, I chaired what was known as the Umbrella Group, the non-EU developed economies, including Japan, Canada, Russia, the United States and New Zealand. And I'm delighted to see Minister Bennett here today, and she confirms that New Zealand has also recently tabled the Paris Agreement for consideration by the New Zealand Parliament. Our 2030 target of reducing Australia's contribution to global emissions by 26 to 28% from 2005 levels was in line with other developed economies. And it's already apparent that the initiatives that we have put in place are reducing emissions without putting a tax on electricity and driving up electricity prices. Australian businesses are already taking advantage of the opportunities presented by a global lower carbon economy, whether it be in renewable energy technologies or cleaner transport systems or sustainable cities or indeed agricultural productivity. But, Mr Speaker, we're also focusing on helping our friends in the Pacific. And the Prime Minister announced in Paris a commitment to $1 billion over 5 years for climate finance to support our friends in the Pacific for sustainable communities and sustainable economies. And, Mr Speaker, we're also using our position as co-chair of the Green Climate Fund to ensure that there is a focus on the Pacific, on our region, and we've already ensured that $200 million worth of funding from the Green Climate Fund will be directed to the Pacific. So, Mr Speaker, I can assure members of this House and members of the Australian public that ratifying the Paris Agreement on climate change is in Australia's national interest.
The member for